Welcome back to For the Love of Gaming's third online extravaganza. My name is Atitri. Now, I know many of you out there in the audience of a certain age may have heard of the game ActRaiser, but did you know that there's actually a growing number of ActRaiser likes? And we have here with us a very talented runner going to show us one of the first modern ActRaiser likes. This is Tigdwan with SolSeraph. The floor is yours.
Hey, I'm tigdwan, and yeah, this is SolSeraph. This came before ActRaiser Renaissance came out. This is like the OG updated ActRaiser. So I'll explain it when we get into it. I'll count down. Start the timer on go. 3, 2, 1, go. So similar to ActRaiser, this is basically a dual genre type game where there are these action side-scrolling platforming stages, but then there are also some, as we'll see later, tower building, tower defense areas. So we play as Helios, that is the SolSeraph, the Sun Angel. And we are basically trying to destroy chaos and bring goodness back into the world. And these lovely water physics. I do that every marathon. I miss that jump. I never really miss it normally, but of course in marathons I always miss it. So there aren't really actually many skips in this game, like glitches type things. We just make use of a few menu skips that, like I'm doing right there. I'm exiting out of the game completely and then coming back in through the save file, but it's done so quickly that you don't see any of the loading, and it just skips like a minor animation that you'll get to see one time later in the game, actually twice later in the game, of Helios ascending to the clouds. But we're now here in the tower defense portion, which it's basically just kind of making us do this little tutorial of how to do just the tower defense, whereas that first level was basically a tutorial of here's how you do the action platforming. So it's a nice way to kind of ease you into the game. And it doesn't bother me through all the times I've played it. Like I don't mind having to do it over because it's not excessively long. It's a very quick tutorial if you want it to be. If you're just starting the game, then you would pay a lot more attention to it. But I'm skipping over everything that they're saying. They're wanting us to build towers here, but I'm just using our ability to put down Helios and have him attack enemies for us for this initial tiny little wave of enemies. I'm going to get him started on the second wave as quickly as possible. He'll send. I have to wait a few seconds before I can put him down again, and now I start building. So for the tower defense, we're trying to manage 3 resources, which are food, people, and wood. Nice and simple. You need people to man things like these towers. You need wood to build buildings. And you need food to build houses for more people.
I've heard that about food.
Food is needed.
It's good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard good things. The other thing you build are these roads, because you can't apparently build on the roads that are already there. Those are the enemy's roads. They don't let you use them. But you need the roads because around the roads is this green area that basically anywhere inside that green area I can build stuff. So they're basically telling us right now that the enemies are going to start attacking from 2 different sides. So we have to get a second setup. There's the famous soup message. where Manu, the two characters in this area are Manu and Priya. Manu's like a town elder, and Priya's I think his granddaughter. And he likes soup, which, I mean, soup's good.
Yeah, hell, same.
So
Got nothing against soup.
yeah, he likes soup and sleeping. He's a smart old man. So the other things that we're starting to get into now are putting down these little shrines here, which get rid of these dark cloud areas and uncover these lairs. And the lairs will, they're actually inside them, there are little levels that you can do one at a time, but there's no speed benefit to it. This is close to the cloud lair, or that's a shrine. You could do each lair right as you unlock them, but that doesn't make sense for the speed run. So we do them all at once at the end. That's what's holding up this. Doing a little bit cleaning up to set up the final power, and then we're basically on, not really auto cruise, but we're done building for this area. I am trying to use this, you'll see me go and get this hourglass on the bottom right of the screen. That's telling you that I am using speed up magic, which is like the greatest thing ever for a speed run. It doesn't actually use any sort of magic ability. And when I was first running this game, like way back at the beginning, the first time I did a speedrun, I didn't know it existed. So I was mystified how the person had the world record at such a time. And that world record at that time was something like 1 hour and 58 minutes, I think. It is now down to 1 hour and 16 minutes. I did that actually a little bit after the last FTG, or For the Love of Gaming, that I first showcased this in.
Congratulations.
Got that time after completely de-rusting specifically for this marathon, so you're partly to thank.
I will give the credit to everyone else involved with the marathon. I didn't have anything to do with it, but congratulations to you.
115 is kind of what I've said for like the final goal I want to get to, but it's getting harder and harder to get these PBs.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Which kind of shows that it's a good kind of goal.
Yeah, with all the strategies and any glitches and anything else that's available now, that's a realistic ceiling.
Exactly, and the main issue is that I am the only active runner, and I'm not really even always that active, so
Gotcha.
I'm the only one that's looking for strats. So there's no sort of, outsider input of thinking outside, differently than I would think to find better ways to do this and lower the time even more quickly. It's amazing how that can just, find new skips and glitches, just different styles of playing any sort of game.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Which is kind of why if I'm learning a game, I don't want to exactly mimic what the world record holder is doing right away. This is the hardest skip to get. There we go, got it. So after each one of these layers, I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to get to the next layer as quickly as possible so I can enter it before a little animation plays. And each time you do that, you save about 5 seconds or so. So it actually adds up because we do it about 20 times. Which is also why skipping out to avoid the animation. There is one part, there's one portion in this game where we will have to see the animation because the distance between layers is just too far. I don't think I've ever seen anybody ever come close to getting it. But we do have some tech to make it a little bit faster. I was gonna say, this is my favorite action stage of the game because I feel like it makes it look like I know what I'm doing the most. And then I do something right there where I just jump into the big yellow guy.
To be fair, knowing that you're the only active runner of this game, everything is going exactly as you've planned it until we hear you say otherwise.
That's true. I mean,
so you're really tipping your own hat to us on that one.
I could just completely lie and say that, this is intentional, it's manipulating stuff later in the game.
Oh, he's saying it's all going perfect.
It's actually it's 100%
like a
perfect.
liar.
Yeah, exactly. Like a liar. It's my favorite level, but that's one of maybe my least favorite end boss. It's just very tedious, and it's RNG because those little jelly blobs just jump around however they want to.
Gotcha.
Taking damage right there actually was intentional because it resets being able to swing the sword. Ah, damn it. Trying to get that guy before he goes down. The crabs in this, they take more damage while they are walking or if you're behind them. If you are right in front of them and they're shelves down, you can swing at them all you want and it really doesn't do much damage at all.
So you're saying the giant enemy crabs have weak points that you can hit for massive damage?
Yeah, basically.
If that reference still plays to anyone. Sony pressers of a certain era. It was E306, I think, something like that. Very long time ago now.
Right there, I did something. I could have rushed getting into that area, but it is a soft lock risk, and it's really one of the few places in the game where that can actually happen, where something can go incredibly wrong. So whenever I'm doing this in marathons, I don't even bother. Actually, and I usually don't even bother when I'm just doing normal runs because it's worth at most 3 seconds. And it's just, I guess if I ever get a 1503 and I don't do it, then I can kick myself. This is the first boss area that we're going to see. We're going to fight the King of Trees. Lovely.
As a tea tree myself, I feel obligated to let you know that I'm rooting for the King of Trees.
That's fair. I mean,
it's nothing personal. You understand.
Yeah, they're technically evil, but I mean, we're just told that they're evil. We don't really know. We don't know what they're doing that they're evil. Yeah,
I suppose the same was true in ActRaiser.
We just assume.
No, in ActRaiser, I think you get the opening cutscene where the angel explains to you how the land has been poisoned and the people have been driven away. Something like that.
I don't know if I trust that angel, though. That angel's kind of sketchy. I mean,
unreliable narrator.
Yeah, unreliable narrator, exactly. They killed Teddy. Didn't get the favorable bounce with the gooey guy. Lord. And so that's not supposed to happen. That was actually where, okay, that's where I am. This area was really, when first learning the game, that whole platform just moving over was a huge death trap. Before just figuring out how not to let the praying mantis guys hit you and knock you off.
God.
What basically happened was I was trying to compensate and made things worse by doing a backwards dash, which is usually how you die in this game. Because you're frequently holding down the shield, and if you press backwards when you're holding down the shield, you do a backwards dash. So you can frequently just fly off the edges of cliffs. So mastering that is one of the things in this game. But hopefully that will be the one and only death of this. Just getting it out of the way. It's a tactical death for RNG later on.
There we go. Now you're picking it up.
King of Trees. Not much to him. You just have to slash the heck out of him.
I love the art style and the animation, though. If you're not aware, anybody out there watching, you probably have seen or played something from this developer. They're a Chilean group called Ace Team, and they have done a lot of games that have showed up in some prominent, like, Humble Bundles and other things like that. Xenoclash, the Rock of Ages trilogy, and also a kind of a platforming Souls-like called Abyss Odyssey, as well as a few more recent games.
Yeah, I think this game's absolutely gorgeous. Like, I love how these levels look with these, just like the oranges and purples in this desert area. Just look fantastic. And I think this game would have been a bigger hit if it wasn't for its connection to ActRaiser and ActRaiser runners being pretty brutal with their reviews on it. They did not like it. I never ran ActRaiser prior to playing it, so I had no emotional connection to that game, and so it was just like, no, this is a fun game. It's a really great speedrun.
Right. You didn't have that. It's like ActRaiser,
right?
But different. I don't like different reactions.
Right. And then they get ActRaiser Renaissance that came out, well, now like a year or two ago, and it has like 15 hours of tower defense. So it's like they don't like that. It's like SolSeraph doesn't have 15 hours of tower defense. It's kind of like, sounds like it's the game that you really wanted, but you hated it at the time and just won't admit it now. Although I think that the ActRaiser Renaissance speedrun is down to maybe 5 hours now. Only 5 hours.
Well, yeah, only 4 more hours to go.
Yeah, so you could run ActRaiser Renaissance for 5 hours, or you could learn SolSeraph.
SolSeraph and 2 other runs.
Yeah, I'm completely unbiased though.
Right. I mean, really, that's just a factual layout. You're saying in the time it would take to learn to run ActRaiser Renaissance.
It is.
You could both learn and perform a run of SolSeraph.
It's true.
Alrighty, so we're back out to the overworld. What are we working on now?
So right now we are in the desert here, but this is the Queen of Bones, who is killing my people who are trying to run there, which is not nice. We got our first wave of these skeleton guys, which we actually just let them all hit the campfire, because the campfire can take 5 hits, and there are only 4 of them. So there is no reason to spend any time trying to kill them, because you have to knock them down 3 times. Like, you have to hit them, they will fall down into a pile of bones, they will spend some time, then they will get up, you have to knock them down again, and then again. So it takes
the old dry bones problem.
Yeah. So it takes a bunch of time to kill them when you can just use the speed time to let them run into the fire and kill themselves. So we're making use of the well, which this is the only place in the entire game that we use it. Because it's only useful in the desert. In all the other areas, there are plenty of fertile land to build farms on. The two characters, there are usually two characters in every one of these tower buildings. These two are the chattiest. They are Arda and Jean, who I have sort of kind of like a fan fiction that the two of them were romantically involved when they were younger, but that Jean he's not commitatory, and so Arda, had to break it off with them, and that they're now this bickering couple that have this underlying passion for each other that they won't admit. But that's, that's my unpublished fanfic. It's not canon.
Fair, but in announcing it on a stream in a public setting, you're now putting like copyright on it, right?
I would absolutely hope that's how copyright works.
It's like sending something in the mail to yourself.
Oh, you're right, exactly. Because this is the kind of story that the kids want to see. A very old couple bickering. Sounds like just like a great manga or anime. There is kind of a third character in here, which is there's a dog that will play a part later on in one of the other areas. Because Jean thinks that he's dancing with a spirit, and Arda just informs him he's dancing with a dog. I can't actually remember if it's explicitly said or if it's just alluded to that Jean does something like lick toads. Like there's definitely something where he's engaging in some ritualistic stuff. Coming up in this next wave, we will get the best tower for these guys, which it's going to be... what is it even called? I'm trying to think of the official name of it, but it's this tower that shoots out... it's a magic tower. Just shoots out bursts of magic that kills those skeleton guys in one shot. But we only get to use it on this very last round. So, kind of a bummer, but beggars can't be choosers. And I have looked at ways of, you can play any of these overworld levels, there are 5 of them, you can play them in any order that you want, and buildings are just unlocked based off of how many waves you fought. It's like there technically is a way that you can run this so that you have that magic tower the entire time that you're doing this, but it is not, it doesn't save any time just because it changes the routing of other levels, and so you don't have certain buildings when you're working with other areas, and also certain levels get more difficult with the more life you have. Like there will be more enemies or just more objects that like shoot arrows at you. So this ordering has been determined as the most optimal, which is going to the desert first. Well, we do the Plains of Weedu, then the Sikh Desert, and we'll go to the Mount Agnir next, Arunan Isles, and then the Vale of Yeg, which is the absolute worst. Which the first time I saw anybody play this game, they went to the Vale of Yeg first and had a lot of trouble because it is really difficult no matter when you go to it.
Like getting on the ski slopes and seeing the black diamond icon and saying, "Oh, this looks neat."
Yeah, it's basically, and it's a winter area. So this is the skip that we can't get, but I do take advantage of the speed up magic because that actually speeds up that little cutscene there, where we're seeing kind of that resin substance retreat from that final layer. I do appreciate that at least on these kind of mini areas that you only have to knock down these skeleton guys twice instead of 3 times. Still would prefer it if it was once, but have not figured out a way to get that. So that roly-poly seems to be sort of a glitch, or not really a glitch, but a bit of bad programming, because it always is just rolling there in that corner. If it is not rolling there, it's a sign that you've spent a lot of time on trying to clear out the other side. It's usually a pretty free kill. Actually have a little bit of a weird thing going on there where one of the upper skeletons ran to the bottom, which is, it's a fortunate bit of RNG that sometimes does happen. It's nice when they bunch up. Nice when these 3 guys bunch up, but they did not want to do it. Going into our last of the desert layers. We have our wizrobe guys here. This level basically just combines the 2 worst types of enemies. Skeletons. Where the hell did he go? Never actually seen that, where he completely walked off. That's actually not good. What just happened there, which was we didn't get the normal kill order that we would expect, so I didn't get some top shots in on one of the wizards.
That makes sense. Sounds very similar to the game I've been practicing. If you're not in the right place at the right time, it can be a real scramble to pick things up.
Yeah, and the wizards, they fly around randomly, you know, disappearing and then reappearing somewhere, so it's really nice when you can normally get those couple of shots in the spot where you know that they are going to be for sure, and just get those few shots in. Which, for this level, it's going to seem like there are just tons of wizards in it, but these are actually just 2 wizards that follow us throughout the entire level. So, if I do have a chance to take a swing at one of them, I will. Because you can occasionally get the 6 or so shots that you need, and then they're just gone, and it just makes it a little bit easier. They're just a huge pain in the ass. And then we have one of our RNG bosses here, the Queen of Bones, where she will go underground and can take between 1 and, actually, I was going to say between 1 and 4 tail swings, but it can be more than 4. We want it to be 2. So we want her to come up now. And she is being nice. Unbelievable to see that in a marathon. And then I mess up getting all the way out. But that's completely RNG. We'll have another fight with her later in the boss rush where she can do, again, multiple can go 4 or more tail wags, and each tail strike is after 2 is about a 5-second time loss. If she only does 1, that's also bad because you haven't done enough damage to her to kill her in her upright form. So it's basically doesn't really count, because it's actually even worse because you're just doing kind of this up damage, and then she's still going to have to cycle through going underground and coming back up. But 1 come up is very rare. And I really hope I didn't just jinx myself by saying that.
Well, we'll see how the luck holds. Today, the luck for runners has been quite good, I would say. And it's been on and off by comparison the last couple of days. So may the RNG continue to bless us for the rest of your run.
I wouldn't expect a PB like in the last run, but I would welcome it. But to be fair, I'm not sick right now, so I don't have that offsetting bad luck.
Right. I did make that joke that Liam got his bad luck out of the way by getting sick before the run, and that might have been what did it. We shall see.
Which I hope that ends up being their PB for a while, that they have to submit with their voice like that.
Oh dear. You know what they're going to end up submitting is they're going to wait a couple of weeks. They're going to record a voice track over it.
Oh,
so here's what I did at this point. That's what I would
do. Yeah. Gotta find a mod on that game and say that that's not allowed. See who that is in SRC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's doing an initial build setup here. We have Perkunas and Plato, father-daughter. Plato is incredibly annoying. She constantly is asking for a dog, which we saw a dog earlier in the desert that may or may not come back at the end. But she's like the kind of leader in waiting for this village here, and she is kind of awful. Because she's the one that said build these bridges because they're going to be pretty, I think is her basic reasoning. But if the bridges did not exist, the monsters would not be able to attack their village. So, like, that's a horrible decision on her part. And we just unlocked the windmill. Which the windmill is nice and useful if there are farms within its kind of area of effect. It will double their output. One of the big things that I worked on a lot when I was preparing for the last for the Love of Gaming was really getting this build order down, trying to maximize every little second out of it, and especially the placements for Helios, to time them right and for maximum effect.
Yeah, menuing and other related activities, I would say, are a vastly underappreciated art in the field of speedrunning. It may be amongst RPG runners. I think they get it.
Yeah. The menuing in this is odd because the selections here are on kind of like a wheel, basically. So it can be difficult to get in that groove of exactly selecting where you need to for it to give you the right building or attack that you want to do.
Sure, and I bet it's a little different depending on your preferred control method.
Oh yeah, I assume so. I use the Nintendo Wii Pro controller thingy.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of a disadvantage. Just based on the if you're looking at the control settings, because it uses what the Xbox layout is, and so it has different for the A and B, I think, or is it
Yeah.
X and Y and A and B buttons positioned differently?
Yeah, you are correct on both accounts. Modern Xbox and PlayStation are effectively backwards from Nintendo, which has kept their same control scheme since SNES, I think.
Yeah, it's the others that are backwards, not Nintendo.
Fair.
I say as I'm playing a Sega game. I enjoy all of the little waves in this area because they look just like complete and utter chaos, that everything's going wrong, but it's almost always that everything's going completely fine. There are a few times where you're sitting there and it's looking like everything is completely chaotic and going wrong, and then you realize things are actually going wrong. It's usually in this wave when that happens, where there's just going to be a lot of enemies up in this area coming up here, and if they don't start dying at a point, it's not good.
Like, the chaos is all perfectly controlled until it's not.
Exactly. This is looking fine. It's usually if that giant guy lives a bit longer, things get bad. Also didn't fill that up, so that would explain a little bit. I don't know if I mentioned earlier that you have to collect the clouds to restore magic.
That's an interesting mechanic. I don't know that you did.
And they do reappear at different points, so you can't really run out of magic during the entire tower defense section. But you can run out of, like, optimally placed clouds.
Right. After a fashion, it's kind of gently encouraging you to, hey, go look over here. Maybe there are bad guys over here.
Yeah. Gonna put Helios in the back to attack with the hopes that he's going to kill those last two guys. Stop fighting these ones, because they show up to the party really late on. There we go. And they are just very slow to get there. So it's usually best to put him just to kind of kill off those two guys and let the towers take on the main bulk of enemies. I'm trying to think if it's going to be the next lair or the lair after that where I'm going to be brutally critical of it. I'm not a huge fan of the little kind of mini levels in this area, simply because each one of them has 3 waves of enemies, so they take longer. Which, anything that takes longer is not going to be the thing that you like in a speedrun.
Right. Casual player. Hey, this kind of feels like padding. Speedrunner. This is fun, but it's slow.
Okay, so it's going to be the next one. I actually really like this little level because it does a really nice job of having a limited area of space, but it utilizes these the vertical portions of it to make it feel a lot bigger and just contain a lot more enemies in a limited kind of horizontal space. And so that might be why I hate this next one so much, because it's crap. There's just nothing here. Like there's a tower, or you know, that little building, and then there's this bridge. The background's kind of nice, but this, like, whoever designed this one, they were really half-assing it. It just has nothing.
This is SolSeraph's version of Final Destination from Smash. Pick the bridge 1v1 with no items.
And that guy actually was nice enough to come over the bridge. Usually he will wait on the other side and make you come to him. This used to be one of the scariest mini levels because there is death if you fall down there. But me and one of the other people who used to run it, Sin Stream, just kind of figured out how to get comfortable with it. And the big thing is not to backdash.
Right, you did mention that earlier.
And the reason I should have mentioned why you're constantly holding down the shield, which is because if you're holding down the shield, you swing the sword faster. You do, they're slightly, like each sword swing is slightly less damage, but they're much faster. And so it does overall more DPS.
Yeah, the DPS is ultimately higher. Got it.
This is one of the toughest little kind of mini levels, but it's also it's a lot of fun. Especially like if it goes really well, it's very, very satisfying. And if it doesn't go terribly well, it honestly is just kind of like, oh, that's expected.
What was the lightning bolt just earlier? Was that a checkpoint?
So, no, actually, the lightning bolt, that's a really good question. The lightning bolt that's one of the magic things we can use. And when you cast lightning, it not only it does some damage, but it gives you an iframe. Like, it gives you one hit of invulnerability after that. So we make a lot of use of that in this later part of the game after we get it.
You say one hit of. Is it timing based like an iframe, or is it more like a super armor sort of thing?
It's partially both, because I don't think it lasts forever, but it is like it's after the lightning bolt is cast, but like it can be pretty soon after that you can get hit and it will go away. So it's not completely based on time, but it's not, I don't think you can like carry it through an entire level.
Right. So it's effectively like a temporary hit point.
Yeah. Taking some intentional damage there to get actual iframes. That also used to be one of the scariest parts of this run. Sneaking up across that dragon. Lots of deaths. But it went pretty well, actually. And there's actually a part midway through that level where we jump up and a random fireball hits us. Actually needed to go back on purpose there. I was a little too close to the edge. The path that this guy can fly is variable, so he's another one of the RNG bosses. And the path that he was on is one where he is going to try to snipe you with a fireball, and if it hits you in the wrong direction, you are going to go off the cliff. Which is horrible in this level because there are no checkpoints. So that was a okay dragon fight. He came relatively quickly. But usually he'll be in a position where you can hit his feet for some early on damage. It's much more likely to do that in the boss rush version though. So hopefully we'll get to see that. Lightning also plays will come into effect here in the water, because if you cast lightning underwater, it electrifies the water for that hit. So anything in the water, including you, takes a bit of damage. Just made that ledge. That's going to, the use of lightning is going to come into play a lot in the little mini layers coming up. Alright, so trying to stay around that little kind of coral right there, because it seems to just mess with those bony fish's movement. They seem to actually be impacted on if they can turn around it. So now here we're at the Runen Isles. These characters are basically, I think they're supposed to be teenagers, maybe young 20s. They're basically left as the leaders of their village because all the other leaders have died in different circumstances of varying degrees of funniness. I'm trying to remember exactly what the different things are. There's one that they died because the bear that ate the prior shaman fell on them. So it's kind of like this escalating levels of ridiculousness for how each one died. One of them got drunk and danced into a fire, things like that.
Got you.
But it's like, I think it's like 9, there are mentions of 9 different deaths or something.
Oh dear.
So, they're not having a great...
The last one was hypnotized into thinking they were a salmon and was eaten by the bear while it was swimming upstream.
It's basically about that ridiculous. Almost forgot to refill on clouds there. Another use of the windmill to make those farms twice as effective. Slightly concerned about those 2 hits. It looks like the campfire is fine. Helping out a bit with that lightning there. It's just quicker than waiting for those little frog guys to get to an actual tower that will take them out. It's one of the rare places where we actually come out and use the lightning. It's typically, it's much slower to use lightning because you have to both cast it accurately and you stop using the speed up magic. Some menuing problems there. It's normal to take some hits at the campfire here. So it still doesn't feel great. I'll finish up building a bunch more towers. So in this area we strictly build towers, and that's because when the water rises, if there are ground, if we had any of the other ground structures, the people that would have been manning them just start to float and can't actually attack. But if they are in the archery towers, they can attack during the entire blood kind of sequence. But yeah, like in this sequence, Like the people who were there cutting down trees, they were actually not able to cut down trees for that little bit. Have to make sure to get rid of that lumber mill because we are actually pretty tight on the population in this. Good. Helios lined up well with that little interrupt message, which is what we want to see for kind of the optimal placements of Helios. Last couple towers that I need. Oh, good, he took care of the giant frog. We're going to have one final wave here. Come on, there we go. Sometimes it's hard to get the speed magic to actually engage. You'll notice I'm frequently flying around in little circles, and it's not just doing that because it's fun, it helps you see if you have the speed magic. It being fun is just a side bonus. Everything looks to be going well here. Have our 15 souls so we can place down a shrine. Might not have explained that earlier, but you need 15 souls to actually be able to put down one of those shrines. We're about to come into some of my least favorite enemies. Oh crap. Wasn't supposed to fall down there. These heads right here are the enemies that I really hate. Because their flight is completely RNG. And they can be incredibly jerky. And they're going to basically be in every single one of these mini levels. And as I mentioned before, making a lot of use of lightning in the water. Do quick damage to everyone. Go. His heads also take 10 hits, which is quite a lot for an enemy. Magic. Got lucky there.
Yeah, on the one hand, you seem to have good ranged options. On the other hand, 10 is still quite a daunting number for a standard enemy.
Yeah, the arrow is nice, although it uses magic, and so, like, right then, I actually ran out of magic to use the arrows, one shot short of killing him. Close enough to that flower. There are a lot of, in these levels, different triggers of areas that you have to walk to before certain enemies will come after you. So lots of the movement back and forth is based off of trying to optimize that. I'm not sure why these flowers here have giant eyes. That seems like a really bad evolutionary design, because they don't move, so they have no need for eyes.
Venus flytraps, but conscious.
And with eyes.
Right. I suppose you don't necessarily need sensory input methods to be conscious, but I feel like it helps.
Yeah, it helps. That's a good way to put it. So having good RNG with that guy, but here this one's being a jerk. And I see there's Sin in chat. He is one of the other people who actually has a time of this on the board, but it's like 2 years ago. They need to return to that. They need to stop playing ActRaiser. They actually
no pressure, but
they play the OG ActRaiser, so
respect. But still, you need to come back over to the winning side. That's what I'm hearing here.
Yeah, you know, Super Nintendo, that's out of date. Even though I normally play Nintendo and Super Nintendo games as well. This is the most modern game I play.
I see Sin has similar opinions to you with regards to the other remake of this style of game and the scads of tower defense therein.
Not gonna lie, I did take some Schadenfreude when people complained about the amount of tower defense in ActRaiser Renaissance.
Sure.
Pretty easy boss there, just lots of hacking and slashing. Now on to the level with the King of Floods, who's one of the most pathetic bosses in this game.
You know, I was sincerely hoping we were going to get away from the frogs with the giant creepy tongues, but now they're just the normal enemy, so...
They are the normal enemy for this area.
Excellent.
We will, once we get to the Vale of Yag, they will be gone. Taking a little more damage than normal here. Should be fine. Yeah, King of Floods. He has a magic ability, but he almost never gets to show it off because he's usually dead before that. And there he goes. We'll do his reach for help. We will ignore his plea. And now we're on to the Vale of Yag. The worst of the areas. And I'm rusty on getting through this. So I did spend a lot of time after trying to get the last PB of really figuring out how you need to move to get through this without taking tons of hits. It's actually going really well so far. Like, just taking a couple hits already is good. Say that, and now the hits are racking up. But a problem with a lot of these Veil levels is those Wizrobe type guys. I don't actually know if they have a official name. I'm sure they do, but they're just Wizrobes. It's a little slow building that house, which hopefully won't screw up the big strat with this area. So this is by far like the largest build area we have, and normally we have to actually might have screwed it up. That's not helping. You have to wait for those items to be built, or the roads to be built. And, but there is a trick to getting around that. Which is you start the wave, and then you leave. And come back in.
Very good.
The wave it's reset, and if we go around and look, all of the roads are built. But that's only used here because this is the only area where it's actually beneficial to take that, couple seconds of time it takes to go outside in the menu and get back in and restart the wave. It also throws off your lumber collection, so it would be difficult to use in other areas, but in here the build is basically designed around having a slower lumber production. And this is one of the larger builds that we have to do. Rune and Isles is fairly large, Agnir is fairly large, but I think this is probably the most spread out. Right now we're running into that needing lumber to actually build stuff. Make use of, I think that's a watchtower. What is that thing called? So this tower there is something that we only use here. It basically makes the archery towers shoot twice as fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was something like either like a sentry tower or an archer stand, something like that.
But it only does it to... Oh crap, they weren't done. Why weren't you done? That's probably a good sign that they weren't done, because it would mean that the pace is going well, but it's a bit jarring. last area of towers here. Another one of these things. This area is slightly stingy on the clouds for refilling magic, so it can actually be a bit difficult to remember to go and refill. It's also based on like just the people in the area. This is the only one that they're all kind of a buzzkill because they're talking about their leader dying and them having to do a funeral for him, and they're in this awful barren land and wondering how to continue. It doesn't have any, you know, kind of funny shenanigans like the Arunan Isles did, even though, you know, they lost a lot of leaders as well, so it's a bit of a buzzkill. And the guy in here who actually passes away is the brother of Manu, who was way back in the plains of Weedu.
That's only fitting.
It's part of the basic story of this, that all of these that wasn't meant to be built. All of these people have been separated from each other because of chaos, and they've lost contact with each other. So there's the implication that, you know, that they did all used to have contact with each other and knew of each other, but now they're each all disconnected and have no idea if the other areas even exist anymore. And so we're trying to, you know, kill off these monsters and let them connect with each other. Go. Depending on how quickly those guys die, it can actually be, you can get the souls too late and have to go through an additional kind of dialogue change. But we avoided it there. This is my favorite place with using this new water magic that we got from the Arunan Isles, because when we enter the water areas that are originally here in this level, we move normally. There's no water physics. It just ignores them. Until that magic wears off, and then, as you can see right now, water physics are back in fog form.
Everything's coming up tigdwan. At least that's the hope.
That worked out fairly well. Fish was a little uncooperative.
You want me to continue to torture that reference?
Oh,
it's
keep
working.
Going with it.
My armor is soaked, but my cuffs are bone dry.
The flood pants. Unfortunately, there is no name entry in this game, so we can't put in Thrill House.
Alas. And if there was, there's no guarantee that the character limit would be exactly the same.
Exactly. Here's one of the other large or long skips that we have to do. Luckily got it there. So switched off the magic that I needed to be on a little prematurely. So I'm actually going around and kind of triggering these different spiders to come down, because I need them to be low enough that they will be in the range of the water to get killed by lightning. if they don't come down, they will actually be above the water line, which ruins that whole strategy. Which makes that area significantly easier than it used to be when we had to go around and hack and slash them one by one. This actually was one of the more recent things to be kind of figured out and worked on, was the use of this water magic and lightning magic together.
Yeah, you effectively create your own AoE spell that's usable at any time.
Exactly. And did try to do work and see if that could be worked into some of the other areas, but I know that the Mount Agnir, a lot of the flying enemies, actually, they will fly above the water. It will just push them above it, so it's almost like the developers knew. I'm guessing they didn't actually know, and it was just kind of a happy accident on their part, and an unhappy accident for speedrunners. Here's another where we have these two. It's just two of them. Not anymore. The reason I did that was because if you fall down that hole, you're in for about a 20 to 30 second fight with a mini boss. Because the reason this is actually any percent is because we are skipping what are weather mana upgrades, which are found in various levels. You have to either fight little mini bosses or just kind of go through longer areas, which increase the amount of magic you can use in the tower defense portion. Queen of Ice here. You have a sort of, kind of, probably closest thing to a glitch where the casting the lightning seems to have caused the owl to swoop down, and since you have that invulnerability bit, it doesn't hit you with its claws, so you just get that kind of free period to just slash at him. Or her, actually, because it's the Queen of Ice. Heading into the final area, which is Erebus. I'm trying to remember that a lot of these names do actually come from various mythology. I want to say this is Greek mythology. A slightly different spelling, but like
yes, Erebus is one of the primordial deities of like darkness and shadow.
There you go. Because I know there's another area in here that's Nyx, which is, again, I want to say Greek.
Her brother. Yep.
There you go. And I think
well remembered.
Arunin was I want to say Hindi. Somewhere it had something to do that. It was that or Agnir. Had something to do with Hindu mythology. So we basically have Krakow here, making an appearance from Kirby. Should have let me in that earlier. You might not have liked the frogs with the giant tongues, but I think the worst enemy comes in here with these flying nightmare birds.
Mm-hmm.
That explode.
Yeah, that's also not great.
They explode when you kill them.
At first, I thought they were kind of like No or yokai masks, but they're something a little more aggressive than that, I think.
Yeah.
And then, yes, I'm sure the explosion is a very off-putting experience the first time that happens to you.
Specifically in a part it's coming up here where there's an elevator section where they hang out. There he is. And say, I'm waiting for one of them. Oh. Okay, that was just playing it safe. It's hard to get up that really quickly. But it's easy to fall off of it completely and then get very flustered and frustrated.
Oh, of course. I'm sure that's what that entire section was built for.
Oh yeah,
this too.
I mean there are things in here that are absolutely like timed perfectly for you to completely like to hit you exactly when you don't want them to hit you. So the Ace team, they did a heck of a job.
Yeah, the old Castlevania cycles.
At least there's not the Castlevania jumping in this.
Oh yeah.
The jumping and then just when you take damage and fly backwards.
Imagine if that dash you're so very fond of happened every time you got hit.
Oh, exactly. That's basically, yeah, it's Castlevania. And this is our pun fight here, where we're Helios, the Knight of Dawn, and this is the Knight of Dusk. So, dusk versus dawn. Actually, there's going to be a bit of a cutscene here that we completely ignore, but we have to skip out of the game in a specific order to make sure that it registers that we saw just a little bit of it, so that when we come in back to the save file, that it doesn't just start over, showing it all over again. Which the narrator in it is, we've dubbed him the Budget Morgan Freeman. You will get to hear him at the end. Coming up to the boss rush here. I will be doing this in the marathon safe order, which is to start first with the King of Fire, because the King of Fire is the one that you're most likely to die on. Just because you can get knocked off this edge. It's not super common, but it's common enough that you just want to come do him first, because if you die during this boss rush, you have to start it all over again. That flood's kind of juked me there. Got 3 hits and that's disappointing. And we have some of our RNG battles. This is, you know, when you're on PB pace, this is the worst part of the run. This Queen of Ice fight, and it's followed right by the Queen of Bones, which these are like the 2 big RNG bosses. Because the Queen of Ice can do things like that. And just not swoop when you want her to swoop. That was actually fairly good. It was fairly nice. Maybe we'll get a double 2 cycle. That'd be nice. There's one. No. So we don't do any damage if she comes up for a 3rd, or it looks like her 4th time. Because when you're swiping her when she's trying to go down, it actually slows her down a little bit, and it just doesn't do anything for you. You have to wait for her to come up to get that final slash and to actually get the kill. King of Trees actually getting in more hits than usual. Still dying. So this is the animation that we've been skipping throughout the entire game. It's pretty cool, but there's just no room for it in a speedrun. And we are now on to the final boss, which is Chaos. But time does not end when this boss dies. There are a few dialogue boxes afterwards that we have to go through that will be the official end. What we're really hoping for here is that he doesn't call the little... he can call the shadow monsters that are the guys that look like Krakow from Kirby. We just want him to do these jump and punches. And we're standing really close to him because that way those little balls of energy, they never hit us. So you just get in and close and slash at his crotch.
I mean, it's effective on most things.
It is. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want, something slashing at my crotch. So yeah, that was a pretty standard kill. Like to stay on the right side of him. But now we just go around and talk to all the different people, kind of catch up with them. You'll have to go frame by frame if you want to see what they're actually saying.
Or you could just play the game for yourself.
Or you could play the game for yourself. It's on sale on Steam for $5 a lot of times. We see the dog there. The dog is named Quoquo. I will mention that. That's important.
Aww. Okay, I only saw about 8 frames of Quoquo, but I'm quite certain it's a good boy. GG.
So it was that Helios
and there's budget Morgan Freeman.
All right, let me turn on the version where I can hear the game audio for that.
Finally drove chaos away. Now Manu and Priya, well know Sandehanu, and all our other friends, all the many people that make up humankind, could live and thrive in peace, building a world
You're not
for
wrong.
themselves and their children.
I don't think I noticed it first, but it's pretty close.
It's a very particular cadence.
It is. It's a cadence.
And some of the vowels get a little open. Yeah.
I would love to talk to the team and know if that was like the direction for the voice actor.
Sure.
Like, we want you to sound like Morgan Freeman.
Or if it's just who they found and they said, we want you to do like a bombastic announcer voice, and they get, oh, I got one of those.
Is the gift Helios gave us, and that is why when we are afraid,
water went down the wrong pipe.
When we are uncertain, we turn our eyes.
Well, no worries, your labors are done.
Yeah,
you have freed the people and
showed
the good folks in chat and watching Twitch, watching is what SolSeraph is all about.
And it's sad they leave the kind of the possibility of the sequel there at the end, saying that you never know when Chaos is going to return. Maybe in 20 or 30 years we'll get SolSeraph Renaissance.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
It'll have 15 hours of tower defense.
You had to say something.
Well,
would you like to know your final time?
I think it's around 120.
Yeah, it's approximate because I owe you an apology. I started a few seconds late, but it should be about 1:20:12.
I will take a timer starting late over a timer starting early.
Yeah, well.
So no worries there. But yeah,
anything else you'd like to say?
So there's no real dedicated Discord to this, but there is an Ace. The Ace team has a Discord, and there is a specific SolSeraph channel. If you are interested in running the game, you can contact me through
lady. Took me down to where I've been lately. Yeah, her love can make a person hazy. Praying she won't break me down, 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 down. She makes me crazy. Never promise anything, but maybe I let her do anything, let her play me. She makes me go another round, 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 round. What are you doing to me now? You found a way to me somehow. Now you're all I ever dream about. Since I saw you, there's no easy way out. Hear me calling out to you. It's all that I can do. Baby, I am falling. Can't you hear me calling out to you? That's all that I can do. Tell me that you want me. Tell me that you need me. Baby, I am falling. Baby, hear me calling. Baby, I am falling. Baby, hear me calling. Lady, took me down to where I've been lately. Yeah, her love can make a person hazy. Praying she won't break me down.